Welcome to the Dr. Donna podcast, here on the Experience of the Soul podcast channel. Innovative, evidence-based recovery that helps to identify intergenerational trauma, allowing for freedom and embracement of the healing process. Today, episode 136, Humility, Part 2. And now your host, Dr. Donna Bevan-Lee.
This is Dr. Donna Bevan-Lee. Welcome to my podcast. So last time I was talking about humility, and, I think I said pretty much what I needed to say about that part. Okay. Today I wanted to talk about how people get to the place where they can experience things like humility, because, like last time I was talking about the fact that when you really are able to experience that feeling of humility and you realize I am not better than, I am not less than anyone else in this world, and I deserve to be here because I breathe, which when you really feel that, you just feel better. Okay? It's like your body responds. It feels better too. So I was thinking, well, how can somebody that really doesn't know how to experience insight or understand how I can get from this constant feeling of having, say, to judge everybody or to, feel angry that everybody doesn't do what I want them to do. And, we do it. Just, get on the road sometime, get behind the wheel of a car. You can feel yourself sometimes. Most people can, feel that, like, you should be driving more like me, and then we'll all be able to get there on time, or whatever it is, right? We are so divided. And, a friend of mine we were talking about all of this one day recently. It's like, you might think that's all I ever talk about, but it's not. Anyway, she has been in a 12-step program for many years, as have I. By the way, 12-step programs are wonderful. They help people get clean. They help people get sober. They help people deal with debting and spending and, acting out sexually. 12-step programs, have gotten a bad rap, I think, because they don't cost anything. You can go all the time. And now if you have a computer, you can go literally anytime, anywhere to any 12-step program. And if you're there for the right reasons, which is to get better and feel better and get a better life, it actually works. It really does. We were talking about that. She's very active in her 12-step program, and she reminded me that she gave me these little, what they call the original angel cards, right? I don't generally, like go there and do that all the time, but I have them. And when I remember them, I pull out an angel card. And what you do with those every day is that you pull one out and you look at it, and then you think about, okay, I'm going to think about this today. And, over time, it really does help you to gain some insight to, help you feel better on this planet and in this world. And you can't help but develop some compassion for others because you stop judging. That's one of the things that just drives most people crazy, is that constant judging of others and the feeling that somehow you're better than others because, if you were listening last time, you heard me say feeling of humility is when you really feel and know that you're not better than and you're not less than other human beings, and that the only requirement is to breathe, right? So today I pulled out some angel cards to see if I could, pull together a process that, makes it that will give you guidelines how to get there. Because you can't just say, okay, you should have humility and then have it. I mean, it's a practice. It's kind of like, the practice of yoga or the practice of baseball or the practice of anything else that you've never done that you want to do. You can't just decide to do it and have it be. Okay? And so, I would say get these angel cards. Who does it? The Angel Cards by Kathy Tyler and Joy Drake. And, it's simple, and if any of you have listened to me over the time, I like simple. I don't like it when it's too complicated, and I like simple. So I'm going to talk simply. How to feel better, which in my way of thinking means that you've been able to come to a place of humility and compassion for others. One piece is to practice, and when I say practice, remember it's a practice. You have to do it over and over and over again, be aware that you're doing it over and over again in order to really have that become part of your life. So the first one I'm going to talk about today, and there's many more I could talk about, but I chose these, is honesty. Honesty is that what you're saying and what you're doing is aligned with what you believe, what you say, what you say you believe, and what you're doing. Okay, so honesty means that you have the ability to I'm going to say this to you now, and it's true for me. It's, I am saying and doing what I believe. Okay, so if I believe that nature is valuable and necessary for our continued life on this planet, then I am going to treat it with respect. Okay? That's honesty. That's a piece of it anyway. It's a piece of honesty. So I do believe all those things. And when I'm out in nature, I treat it with respect. And in ways that you might think, well, of course you would treat it with respect, but I'm talking about the day-to-day respect of nature. First of all, when I get on the trail and I look at the signs and I see dogs must be kept on leashes, no bikes, take it out. If you pack it in, pack it out. Okay. These are all basic rules that are made to keep nature intact. Right? So I go, I see, I walk along, I feel connected with what I'm doing. And then let's see, I see a wrapper from a power bar or a protein bar. That happens a lot because people who bike, who are out in nature oftentimes have a little pack and they take a little food. And I'm not saying that somebody threw that there on purpose. I have no judgment about it at all. I look at it and I think, if I'm respectful of nature, then I'm just going to pick that thing right up and put it in my little pack, and then I'll dispose of it appropriately because I don't want to leave it there. That's like, it's throwing something on God's front lawn. No, I'm not going to do that. So I pick it up and I take it with me. How simple is that? The other piece of that is that I know that if I'm going to have a protein bar, I make sure that that wrapper stays with me. And, oh, by the way, that trail said, please stay on the trail. And then there's a little sign that says, restoration project. So, basically, nature can be fragile. So that means I stay on the trail. I'm not going to run off because that looks really fun over there and no one's over there, whatever. I'm not going to do that. If I have that respect and I'm being honest with myself, if I really believe that nature should be respected and honored, then I'm not going to go run over there and destroy all the little plants that they're trying to restore. You see, it's not complicated. Here's another one. I had an experience with this where I have children and I was a child and I had parents, and you might have heard me talk a little bit about them. But, I have in my belief system that no matter what the parents did or did not do, or what you think they did or did not do, if you're sitting there on the planet breathing, they gave you life. Okay? Your mother went through pregnancy. It's like if you're still alive and you're, doing things that you like to do, then probably they were there to clothe you, to feed you, to make sure you got to school, to make sure you did your homework, it's like there's a lot of work that goes into being a parent. It's a job. And sometimes people do it well and sometimes they don't do it so well. And, if you're a victim of, if you've been victimized by child abuse, abandonment, or neglect, you might really not like those people, or you might still be trying to get their approval or whatever it is. And this is that simple thing. If you're sitting there thinking about it, they gave you life. And so I am one of those that believes that parents deserve some kind of respect and honor for having done, whatever job they did to get you where you are today. And now you're responsible for what happens. I'm just going off here for a second. I had such a good friend. He's dead now. He was quite a bit older than me, but he was one of my few mentors in life. Yeah. And he was the director of a treatment facility that I refer to often. He had a little sign in his office that said, damn my parents for the way I turned out. Damn myself for staying that way. I bought that. I said, you are so right. Now, I didn't ask to be born in that family. I didn't ask to have those parents. I didn't, it's like I didn't, if I was a child, I didn't deserve to be dishonored or abused or abandoned or neglected or any of those things. I didn't deserve that, okay? Children don't deserve that, period. But I'm responsible for what I do from here on out. If I'm an adult, I am now responsible for that. And what a wonderful gift. I can take what I got from them and mold myself now. And that's what I did. I can honestly tell you that. I molded my own self. I didn't have a lot to start with, but boy, did I make something from what I had. And part of that, I think, was that I stopped blaming them early on in my life and recognized the abuse, abandonment, neglect for what it was. I dealt with all of it. I worked it out. I still work it out sometimes and went forward. But part of that was the honesty that I had for myself was that they gave me life. Somehow I got through it, but it wasn't magic. It's like I look back on it and I was, I'm glad that sometimes when it's like my mother would say, I don't think you did your homework and you better stay there and do it. It's like, I'm glad that happened. At the time I thought it was terrible, but I'm glad it happened because that was an indicator to me that it mattered to her about what happened to me. And so I look back on those things that made me kind of mad and at the time and, feeling like, oh God, I don't know those people. I don't know about that or whatever. And I look back on it now and I realize that was a lot of work. Plus I'm a parent. Okay. I know what it takes to raise a child to go out and become who they are. But I have to be honest about the fact that, I love them. I like my mother. Sometimes I liked my father, but pretty much I didn't like him for who he was. And that's the honest truth. I'm being honest. I'm usually honest when I'm not having to just be quiet. But I respect them both. And I would never yell at them. I would never call them names. I never did that. I never yelled at them. I never called them names. Sometimes I was mad and said, I'm mad and, stomp off or whatever. But I think they deserve that level of respect. And I've heard kids, adult children, call their parents names, yell at them, smack them, and I am horrified. Almost the same way that I'm horrified when I hear people do that to children. It's like, no, not okay. And if you really get honest with yourself, if you've done that, you might say, gee, I probably didn't need to do that. I probably shouldn't have done that. And if I shouldn't have done that, I need to make amends. Now, when I talk about, it's honesty, there is an acceptance of honesty. It's like I need to accept my part if I've been abusive, if I've abandoned or neglected the people who count on me. I have to accept that is my responsibility. Or, on the same breath, I can say, I need to accept the fact that it's not my responsibility if it wasn't. I've seen this in my own practice where, people feel like they've done something bad because they were, acting their age when they were 6. No. Or, I've seen people and talked to people because it drives them crazy, and that's why they're there talking to me about it in the first place, that now let's say their parents are aging and they need help. And the person goes in there and tries to help them. It's like goes and takes them to doctor appointments or goes and helps them to, get good food or, they're trying to help them when they need the help when they're elderly. And they're doing it for the same reason that they were trying to be perfect as a child. Okay. Still trying to get the parents' approval and acceptance. And I've said the acceptance you need is to recognize that that's not going to work. The acceptance that you need is the acceptance that comes to you through you, which is, I didn't get the approval when I was a child. I'm only doing this because I honor them and respect the fact that they raised me. But I'm not going to get acceptance from them now. And by the way, that ship sailed. Okay. Even if they give you acceptance now and it feels better, it doesn't fix the wounds from your childhood. When they didn't accept you, love you, or appreciate you as a child, they might accept what you're doing for them now. And they might even feel love for you for doing it for them. But it doesn't heal the wounds of your childhood. You can take that now, but that's not why you should be doing it now. You know, it's that reality, that honesty that you can create for yourself is to say, why am I doing this now? Am I doing this because they need it? Or am I doing this because if I do it well enough, maybe now they'll like me. Maybe now they'll accept me and see that I'm a valuable human being, maybe. Okay? That's not the best reason to be doing that. Do it because they need it, that's all. It's like adults take action because it's necessary, not because of some reason that somehow I'm going to feel better. Now, you know, sometimes there's a byproduct of doing something because it's necessary and required, and you're there and you're the adult. Okay. And there's like a byproduct might be that after I do that, I feel good because I did it. And, you know, maybe it was hard and I did it anyway, and I can appreciate that about myself. But not do that in order to get approval from you or anyone else. To get approval or acceptance or love from anyone else. Doing it because it's necessary. Okay? And that's a thing we call discernment. You know, discernment is I recognize why I'm doing it and I make choices based on what's best for me and for you. Okay? So this is a really good example. I mean, I'm getting up there in age and, you know, and so are my friends, most of them. You know, I have a lot of friends that are older. I have some friends that are younger, but, you know, most of us are up there. And we have a thing we call having a medical power of attorney. A friend of mine just died. You heard me talk about her a while back. Anyway, she just died, and she was a lifelong friend of mine, practically. I mean, I've known her since I was 25. We've been good friends. And she wanted me there, you know, because she was dying, and she knew it. And, you know, she had told me before that she didn't want any, you know, let's go, you know, like, let's make her breathe and make her live, even though she can't be part of her own life anymore. And so, you know, there were other people there who, you know, weren't so sure that this was what she wanted, but she was with it. I mean, said, this is what I want to everyone. And so even though it felt odd to be part of that, you know, this idea of, you know, acceptance that that's what she wanted, and discernment that she wanted me to be part of that, and I was doing it. Why? That was the question. So if I'm there helping someone pass, and I'm not talking about I'm giving them a cocktail or anything, because that's not my job, but acceptance that this person that was my best friend for 50 some odd years, and that, you know, I had to ask myself, why am I doing this? Am I participating because she wants me to, and that's why I'm doing it? Or am I doing it because it makes me feel somehow like special or something? And it didn't make me feel special, by the way. I did it because she wanted me to. But that was important. it's important to know why you're doing the hard things that you do in your life. Are you doing it for you? Or are you doing it for others? And, there are many things that I would have preferred to do. Okay? I wasn't doing this for me. But life is not just about doing it for me, or it's all about me. That sounds a bit like that narcissist thing we were talking about. But do it for her, and do it well for her. And then say to yourself, I did this, or I'm doing this, not because I want to, but because it's necessary. And so, I'm talking about a friend, but I'm also talking about, say, your parents as you age. And they age. If it goes naturally, they'll go before you, and you're going to have to do something. And I would suggest that you do it for them. And no matter what they've done or didn't do for you, they gave you life, and they did the job probably the best that they could. I'd say easily 90% of what parents do is just the best they can. And it's a job that nobody is trained for. Okay? So it's like you're always going for it the best way you know how. And so when they need you, you might say, well, I'll do this for them. And you're probably not getting any training for it either, but you do the best you can. So get those angel cards. When I talk about having insight and making choices that, you might need to be accountable for. If you're making choices, there will probably be some accountability somewhere because there will be a consequence. This helps you get to the place of humility and compassion. And that just feels better.
Thank you for listening to the Dr. Donna podcast here on the Experience of the Soul podcast channel. This channel is made possible because of listeners just like you. If you would like to support the channel with your tax-deductible contribution on an ongoing basis or through a one-time gift, head over to experienceofthesoul.com/support. The Dr. Donna podcast is copyright 2023 Dr. Donna Bevan-Lee, all rights reserved. Our theme music is composed by Dave Croft and used with permission. The Experience of the Soul podcast channel is a production of 818 Studios.
Hey friends, Sean here, your Experience of the Soul producer. I want to take a moment to tell you about something truly exciting. The SoulWorks online community, created by your host, Cynthia Alice Anderson, and available on the Mighty Networks app. If you're looking for a place where you can explore your spiritual path, connect with others, and grow in a meaningful way, then this is for you. SoulWorks is so much more than an online community. It's a safe, inclusive space for spiritual exploration, self-discovery, and personal transformation. Inside the community, you'll find everything from uplifting spiritual studies to soul-centered growth practices, meditations, affirmations, and so much more. It's a space where you'll always be supported and never judged. The best part, membership is free. You'll have access to powerful resources, inspiring content, and a supportive group of like-minded people who are all on their own unique spiritual journeys. And if you're ready to dive deeper, there are premium options available to enhance your experience with a live Monday night talk series and extended, deeper meditations. If you're seeking a place to connect, grow, and nurture your soul, we would love to have you join us in the SoulWorks community and see where this journey can take you. Visit my.soulworkscommunity.com today.